When people think of museums, they probably imagine maps printed out on glossy handouts and artifacts kept behind glass cases. But in some instances, you can find this history recreated in the space it's representing. It's an opportunity to walk through a life gone by and see through the eyes it once served. This is exactly what you can find at the Reeves Victorian Home and Carriage House Museum in Dover. Formerly the home to one of the city's most famous and influential, as well as its most affluent names, the Reeves home is now open year-round to visitors who appreciate historic architecture and local history in itself. As for those maintaining it, Shelagh Pruni has been the director of the Reeves home for the past 7 years. She's a Chicago native who, as you'll soon hear, moved to Dover to raise her family and found herself in a position to work with local history. Shelagh's work spans from overseeing events at the museum and keeping the history alive to keeping the building and its foundation in pristine shape. Their latest way to enjoy the museum, Christmas at the Reeves home, is now open with a little twist added in. Here's my discussion with Shelagh Pruni, director of the Reeves Victorian Home and Carriage House, here on the other side of Tusk. Victorian Home and Carriage House Museum?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Or Reeves Museum for short.
Reeves,
Kind
okay.
of rebranded into the logo, which says Reeves Museum. So,
Okay.
but that kind of encases all those words. So,
The Reeves Museum. Well, I mean, how did you
how did I get there?
get there? Yeah, you're from Chicago, aren't you?
I am from Chicago. My husband was from Dover High School alumni, and he'd always wanted to move back home. So, and I'm glad we did because I'm really very grateful that I got to raise my kids here. It was time for me to figure out what I was going to do next. So, believe it or not, I put an application in a man can.
Okay,
And
really?
Yes. Man-Can, the owner of Man-Can is on the board of Dover Historical Society. So when they were looking for a new director, he said, well, let's see. So I happened to just that week put in my application there, and it was just perfect timing. It just worked out. It just worked out. And at first I was like, I don't even volunteer there. I can't be the director. What are you talking about? But it has just been the perfect fit. I feel like it's my adult life put together in one job.
Seriously?
So the business side of running a practice, I did all the hiring, firing, and training at my husband's office. Went to a lot of seminars, did a lot of volunteer work at Central Catholic and at St. Joe's. So that's a lot of what we do. It's a nonprofit, so we need volunteers, but yet there's the business side where you've got to train tour guides and do a schedule and do the budget, and you know what I mean. So it was just kind of like it all worked well together. It all meshed together, and I just enjoy every minute of it. It's a great place to be. So
What was it like when you first got there at the Reeves Museum?
what was it like?
I mean, has it changed? Would you say it's changed?
I think it has, just because it was kind of that time. No matter who the next director was, there was things that were just. It was time to revamp. It was time to, they had been doing the ice cream social, which was such a big thing for a long time, but had kind of seen its day.
Yeah.
We got to where we had more volunteers than people attending. So I think the next director, whoever it was, had to be brave enough to say, we need to not do this anymore.
Yeah.
And make some changes and get involved, and meetings here at the CVB and different. Just be up to date on what was going on with tourism, paying attention, being open to making changes, being okay with making changes. And the board's been fantastic. They are just totally behind, what different things that we're doing.
How many people are on your board?
I think we have 13 board members.
Wow.
So,
What are they doing as the board of the Reeves Museum?
As the board, well, they support me. We have our monthly meetings. We just talk about the budget, and I get the okay for different things going on, and they help. If something like we had a leak in the ballroom the other day.
Oh no!
From that, I know. Oh no, is right.
That's honestly terrifying.
So what I did was I texted right away the buildings and grounds committee people. Leak in ballroom, help! Thanks. That was my text. So it's things like that, things that that are above and beyond the day-to-day running. That's kind of what I do. The other extra things, and we have a couple board members that are tour guides, and one is new this year, so that's really great that they're there and they see kind of what goes on. What does that entail to have 3 bus tours in one day, and each bus is holding 45 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What kind of the hairiness that can entail. Exciting, but hairy, but you want to be representing your group well, because you want that tour operator to come back next year. You don't want their groups leaving saying, oh my gosh, that was, sun organized,
good
whatever.
experience, and they bring a whole new fresh group back.
Right, yeah.
It's fascinating to me that you are a museum, but of the place that the museum's about. Is there a term for that? Is there a term for the house that you're displaying is the museum?
Right.
Like the museum is what you're walking through.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's very
and
meta.
Sometimes, so sometimes I see it. If there's forms I have to fill out, we're a historic home museum, so there's kind of like in the museum world, kind of a category for that.
Okay.
Home museums or historic home
And
museums.
the upkeep that comes with a historical place like that has got to be almost keep you as busy as
for sure.
the showing.
Oh, for sure. In October, we had the Ohio History Connection. Their restoration department came and did a building doctor program. We hosted it, and then they went through the house with me. They did other visits around. Whoever wanted, requested one within a 5-mile radius. So they went through and we talked about, well, this crack is here. Do I have to worry about that, or is that not something to worry about, or what's the priority of what we have to fix? Or it is. It can be daunting. It's scary. It's a big responsibility. It's scary.
Oh yeah.
Because it's beautiful things. It's so. The belongings are, 90% are original.
Wow.
But they certainly didn't build homes the way the way they did then, because it's solid and really overall, and it's always been very well taken care of. So we're very lucky.
That's
very lucky. Yeah.
You got a whole list of rules, I'm sure, of what you can and can't do in that place. That
no food.
No food allowed. No drinks.
No food.
No red wines.
Right. Yes. Right. For sure.
Well, let's get into this. As the director of the Reeves Museum, we'll get into Christmas, Sheila. Okay. But first, what is it that you're doing on a daily basis, year in and year out?
Wow.
Through the seasons.
Through the seasons. So, being in a historic museum, it's interesting because my job is like 50-50 history and then tourism. Because who comes to see museums? Tourists, right? But
absolutely.
Yet we are responsible for the history of our community. So there's, that we restore, we keep, we preserve all that. Not just the Reeves home, because we're owned by the Dover Historical Society, which has been in existence since 1958. Okay. So we have displays, we get donations of things, and we've had artifacts that belong to the Historical Society before we were gifted the Reeves property. So that's already a whole job in of itself.
Absolutely.
There's the Reeves family history, but then there's the history of Dover and the community, which is all part of, our mission statement. But then again, you have to balance that, walk that fine line of, okay, but then in order to have the finances to be able to preserve all that and share that with local community and extended community and tourisms, we have to be walking that tourism side.
Yeah.
So do things that attract from out of town, people. So.
Yeah, tell me about what history people are coming into when they come to the Reeves Museum. Can you tell me maybe a synopsis? I know that's your full job.
Sure,
and it's
right,
stretched
yes.
out over how many minutes of a tour, but tell me about the Reeves family.
Yeah, so when people come in for a tour, they're coming, most of the tours of the home. So, we give them the information that it was originally built in 1870, early 1870s by a local farmer named Valentine Wills. And he owned, that house sat on 400 acres. So, and we have a picture of it, which I think is very cool to have a picture of that. And people say
the original.
Yes, and it was a farmhouse, but I don't know. To me, I think it was a big farmhouse, 2-story, Italianate style, red brick. Jeremiah purchased it in 1898 with the 400 acres, and it went through a 3-year renovation. And the family moved in 1901. So it went from an 8-room farmhouse to a 17-room mansion.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that would have been. Yeah, really something. So, yeah.
A 17-room mansion.
Yes.
And it's the Victorian home.
Yes.
So that's
Victorian. Yes. Where it's, there's a parlor and the sitting room, and, there's a formal family dining room, but then there's also the morning room. And then there's a girl's sitting room, and Mrs. Reeves has a sitting room. And then there's a beautiful ballroom on the 3rd floor, so just perfect kind of Victorian style time period, in the house. So.
And you were telling me earlier that it's a lot of group tours that you have coming through.
We do, especially this time. We get them in the fall. Although this year we had some in the summer, and I think this is the first year since I've been there that we've ever had group tours in the summer. Not a lot, but there was a couple, and it was kind of made me happy. I'd like to see that trend too. It's just as beautiful in the summer than it is when it's decorated for Christmas.
Absolutely, those grounds are fantastic.
So they are. We have fantastic groundskeeping. Our head gardener is awesome, Susan Corder. She is just amazing. Just again, just a natural, instinctive knowing of what's going to plant, what looks good where, what's going to bloom, at different times, and just make the gardens look nice all year long. So, yeah.
I mean, it looks like the Reeves still live there. Honestly, it looks like they're putting that much effort. That's what you're doing. You're putting that much effort into it.
Well, and that's what I like about the way the house is, because when you go on a tour, it's very much set up. It's set up just like it's a home, like someone's living there. And I mean, nothing against Dan Hewitt. That's a gorgeous place, but this is so homey feeling,
Yeah.
and that's what really attracts, I think, what people like. And we have a lot of people that will come from other areas and just say, we love Victorian homes and we travel, we visit a lot of them, and this is our favorite. We've had people that come back often. They live, maybe in Cleveland or Michigan, and they're Indiana, and they'll just say, oh no, we'd like to come back here often because it's our favorite one, that they really like.
Well, it's always different through the seasons too. You guys are always matching what's happening in the community, what's happening in the world. Yeah.
Trying, yes, for sure.
And that brings us to the season of Christmas.
Okay.
And what an exciting time for the Reeves Museum
is.
during Christmas,
It
because
is.
we have the Christmas tours, but this year's a little additionally special.
Yes, for sure. So yes, always are open for Christmas. Our regular Christmas tours, and the house is again decorated just magnificently from top to bottom. But this year we are doing a special event. Finally, so this
a
is
long time in the making.
Yes, and of course, lovely COVID got in the middle of it. So we postponed it for 2 years. But I got an email from a writer in Toronto, Canada, and that he had adapted A Christmas Carol to be presented in historic Victorian homes. They'd done it in Canada at a historic home, and he wanted to make it available to other places. So I was like, oh yeah, we're on top of that. So again, that was 2020 and it didn't work out, but so excited finally to get to do it this year. So like I said, it's adapted for a Victorian home. So each scene is performed in a different room in the mansion. So that instead of the audience sitting and watching, the audience is traveling around the house and then watching the scenes in different rooms in the home. So they get the double benefit of getting to see the beautiful rooms, that they go into and watch the scene of a story that it's a beloved Christmas story. Everybody's familiar with it, but it's just such a unique way to present it.
Yeah,
and we're so happy to be able to do that.
And all these years in the making, right before 2020. So we're looking at actually almost 3 years of planning for this.
Yes.
What is that like? How many people are involved in making that a reality?
So from the very beginning, it was mostly myself and my assistant curator, Tamara Benson. So she was, I think she was initially a theater major, but ended up an English major. She teaches at Kent, but she works, part-time with me, and she's directed shows at Little Theater. So, right away, of course, she was the one I asked, like, oh, I think we could pull this off. So, we had to go through every scene and talk about, okay, this scene, we could do this in the maid's room. Or, no, this would obviously the dining room. And then think about what do we have to add? What would we have to move? And it's very, very little, that it is just worked out very well,
Wow.
So yeah.
An 85-minute tour or presentation, I should say, an 85-minute presentation through the Reeves home that is decorated for Christmas, which is a whole ordeal in itself.
Right, yes, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure,
tell me about the decorating process.
Oh, the decorating. Well, I can take very little credit for it, that's for sure. I just do my best to stay out of the way.
Well, you're a good delegator.
I am a good delegator, yes, that's for sure. So our one of our board members and tour guide, Libby Murphy, is the head decorator, and she has a crew of a couple ladies that help her, and they're just so incredibly creative and talented, and they just go to it. So it looks beautiful every year. And again, we have a couple guest decorators. Lori Brown, another board member and interior decorator, does a room, and Diane Ubel does a room. And then I do have to say, the tour guides, we do have a early season kind of Christmas party, and we decorate the carriage house.
Okay.
Nothing fancy. But it's fun for us to do, just so that way, too, if that would get rented out, because we do rent out the carriage house, that way it's decorated for Christmas.
Okay.
There's a tree and garlands and that kind of stuff. And then this year we did add some extra lighting outside, so I'm real excited about that.
Oh, you have more lighting outside?
Yeah, some of the trees are done. So, yeah, I'm excited to draw attention that way. So,
Well, I bet the Reeves they had that back then. The 1870s, put some Christmas lighting out on
Yeah,
it.
I don't know about
that. Yeah. And that also begs to mention you're not putting blow-ups on the lawn, because you are. What you told me earlier was you're bringing out the beauty of the home with that decorating.
Yes, yeah.
In 17 rooms, that's a lot of beauty to bring out.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's almost 400 hours of decorating.
400 hours.
Yes, between them and the outside and the carriage house, it's almost 400 hours. So.
We thought we had it rough taking a full Sunday to put lights on the house.
Right.
So 400 hours.
Right, I used to think the same thing too. I'm decorating at a whole new level now. We're appreciating a whole new level. Like I said, I can't take much credit for it. So,
and we have all this local talent going into putting on A Christmas Carol.
Yes, we sure do.
And we we have actors from all over different organizations being a part of this. What kind of work goes into preparing for this? You talked about organizing it, which rooms are going to be for which scenes, but then when it comes to bringing the actors in, this has got to be new for them too.
Yes, it is. I mean, we talked about it back in June with people. Like, we are doing this. Are you interested? And so we kind of we didn't really want to do an audition per se. There's several men parts, and that's always like, make sure we have the men parts, And I don't know if you're aware that your Zach Rusk that sits out here is in the show.
Oh, he never told me. Isn't that fascinating?
Yes, is he talented? Wow, we are so happy to have him.
You can see Zach. He's the greeting face of the CBB. And now he's going to be a face in the presentation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol at the Reeves Museum.
Yes, yep.
So you have some real talent.
So again, months ago we needed to put it out there. It was again, like I said, Tam has directed Little Theater, and we know that we have tour guides that are at Trumpet in the Land. So just asking, are you interested? Do you want? Can you commit to this? And then I want to say we started rehearsals in September, late August. I think our first meeting was in August, because we also didn't. I realize it's a big commitment, but all these people are so talented. They're in all kind of other things. So we wanted to start far enough ahead that we could make it work for everybody, and is not difficult for as many people as we could. And I think that it worked out. We did, and they're just so talented. They know what they're doing. They know to memorize their lines, and and then we talked about, it was kind of a coordination of for costumes. Like, some people had, I've got something I think it'll work for this. Okay, and then. Then we were able to borrow some things from Little Theater, and then we've had things that were donated to the Reeves home, and things that we use for some of our living history programs that we do. Some of those pieces were used. So it worked out just to get all that kind of put together. So there were a couple hairy moments for sure, but it's all worked out. So
that's the beautiful part of what you do, is the people that are there enjoying it. They don't see those moments that you thought, this is never going to happen.
Yes, right.
They're just enjoying the product of all your hard work.
Yes.
And we talk about the people enjoying it. This is a different setup. We have the actors filling the room and the audience filling that same room, that same stage almost. Right. So there's got to be a limit on who you're able to support watching this, and it kind of adds urgency in getting those tickets. Right.
And we've never done an event that I'm aware of that we did it 6 times. So which is why we had to do that. So there's a limit to 16 tickets being sold for each event, and again, there's 6 performances. So
and tickets are $35 a person.
Yes, or $30 for Reeves Museum members.
And I'm interested in that membership part. Tell me about that. Tell me the benefits of that.
Sure. So obviously, first of all, the first benefit is that you're supporting a historic home, locally, and then there's discounts to several of our events throughout the year.
And you have all kinds of events.
We do. Now we're doing shows in the house, right?
If you don't have one, you're adding 3 more.
Yes. Then November we do our murder mystery dinner, and that's awesome. That is awesome, and that one that's all done improv. Which they know that I just hide in the office because that makes me nervous. But again, the actors are involved in it. Again, Tam writes it.
It makes you nervous.
It does.
Why?
I like to have it all written down. I need to know who this is here, and then this person, that person, this. Oh no, they kind of get the outline. Oh, they're amazing. They're totally amazing, but it makes me nervous.
You'd be a good detective.
I would be a good detective. Yes.
You got to put names and faces.
Right. That's funny. My dad was a Chicago policeman, so it's funny that you said that.
See, it's in your blood.
It was in my blood, I think. Yes, for sure. Yeah. So that's another. There's a discount to that. Our little girls' tea in August. With membership, there's discounts, and then we do a newsletter a couple times a year. So that goes out to all the membership. So
how much is a membership?
So there are different levels. Individuals. Oh boy.
Individuals
maybe $10. On our website.
Okay.
On our website. So there's individual, couple, family, supporting, and life membership. And you pay out one time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So many ways to be involved in the Reeves Museum.
Yes.
Now I'll talk to you about why you're involved to this day. How long have you been with the Reeves Museum?
I have been there for 7 years now.
7 years. Does it feel like it?
No. I still feel like a newbie. I do.
Oh,
I
really?
still feel like a newbie. Like I'm not really sure what I'm doing.
Well, I can tell you, for the people that visit it, for the people that see all the great stuff you put on, it's it's very obvious that you should be doing what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Why do you do this still, and why do you plan to keep doing it?
I just love it. There's so many different aspects of it. History is always my favorite. I love history, so there's that. And I love being around people. I love tourism. I love being part of bringing people to Tuscarawas County. I love living in Dover, that I got to raise my kids here, so being part of preserving the history of Dover is very important to me. And there's almost nothing that I don't like about working there.
If someone lives in the area,
yes,
and they drive by the Reeves Museum every week or every day,
yes,
should they still stop?
Oh, absolutely.
What is it gonna? Maybe I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
What's something that maybe would draw someone in there? What do they not know about the Reeves Museum? Do you have a secret? Do you have a favorite part of the Reeves Museum? Is there something that just you think this is worth coming in Shelagh Pruni's mind?
Wow. Well, I think to stop in, again, obviously the home was restored beautifully to what it looked like in 1901, and there's the Reeves, and that's always, obviously the big draw is that, that's what you're touring. Yeah. But I think the amount of history that a small community has is impressive. I mean, growing up in Chicago, and then coming here and realizing the history that it has, and almost, I think in a small community, sometimes your history is almost more important.
Yeah.
Because it still affects you. You can go back and look at names that those descendants are still here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're still hearing those names. So I feel like the history is almost more important in a small community. I think a lot of people forget that we were a stop on the canal. So we have a canal exhibit on the second floor of the Carriage House. A lot of times people go up there, it's almost an afterthought, and they'll come down, wow, that was a lot of interesting stuff. Dover's old post office is set up upstairs. So I think there's a lot of those. Yes.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, I know you go up. It is. It's very cool. We have an old. I'm sorry, I don't know what year it's from. I don't think we had that information, but old ballot box.
No way.
When we did history camp, again on the history side for local people, we do a history camp for grades 3 through 6 every summer, and we do a different topic every day. But the last not this last year, but the last presidential election, we did one day we learned all about the Ohio presidents, and we had a vote. They had to vote for which Ohio president in the past they liked the best, and we actually got to use that ballot box. Bringing that down gave me chills.
Yeah, that's
especially when there's so much hanging chads and all the blah 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 about elections, that we still have a ballot box. It's a wooden box with a slit in the top. The kids get, to me I don't know, you just can't put a price on something, on having an artifact like that.
How many different elections were they used for?
For sure.
What are counties built on top of?
Yes, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then probably my favorite piece in the house is the picture of the 1908 Electoral College, because Jeremiah Reeves was a member of it. And every presidential election, you hear about the Electoral College, but I don't know about you, I never know who the heck's on it.
It seems like
Jeremiah Reeves was, so it makes me very proud to know, whoa, yeah, for sure. But he was also a member of the Dover School Board, so he went from that to really committing to his community, which again, to kind of tie that all together, I feel like we're just continuing to pass on his legacy of obviously big business and making a lot of money and employing a lot of people, but he was also so generous, and to the community, so us continuing to preserve that and share that with the community, and then beyond our community is it's just what it's all about.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I always, like you just said, I always saw the Reeves family as these business magnates. Yet, like you said, I didn't realize how much they were giving back to the community, to kind of the nation at large, apparently, being an electoral college.
Yeah.
And you're right about our lives today being built on that history and continuing with that history. I work for 2 organizations that one came from the Reeves family.
That's right. That's true.
And then the other continues to try to help you in getting tourism to go through the Reeves Museum. So both of my paychecks are based off of the Reeves family.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's very fitting to have you as our first real guest on this podcast. And I just have some closing questions, and they're easy. I won't put you on the hot seat anymore, but I'm wondering how we keep up to date with what's happening at the Reeves Museum. Things like a Christmas Carol presentation happening in the museum, your Christmas tours as well. I mean, how do we know when these things are happening?
So our website is doverhistory.org, so you can always check that out or follow us on especially on social media, Facebook mostly.
Yeah.
And then I try to make sure that we get press releases out to WJER and our Bargain Hunter and our other local radio stations and
Absolutely.
newspapers.
So great way to keep up to date. Or if we're looking to get a tour, what are your hours there?
So our Christmas hours this year are Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m.
Okay. And then I'm sure those are also updated on the website, on Facebook.
Yes.
And
And I always tell people, make sure you go to the website, because sometimes I try to update Google and it doesn't always cooperate. So don't just Google it and think that what's on the site is correct.
Yes.
So I don't know. I hope other businesses have the same problem, but be sure
yeah.
you go to the website. So.
And then we were talking before we started, and I'll wrap up with this, but you have an open house coming up too.
Yes, we do it always with the our local Heritage Homes Tour of Homes Christmas Day, that they tour different homes that are decorated for Christmas. So we're open that day for our open house from 1 to 6, and it's $3 a person, and it's not a guided tour, so you can go through the house any which way order that you want to go through. There's a volunteer in every room that'll just give you basic information and questions you might have, but most people coming that day just want to see the decorations. So, but that's also done in coordination then with Dover High School choirs. They perform in the Carriage House and in the ballroom, and they also have their gingerbread competition display, and so all the gingerbreads are on display in the Carriage House. So a lot of people really like to see those. They're really very impressive. And then we try to have other local musicians also throughout the day in the house and in the Carriage House. So.
Do you have time to sleep, Sheila?
Yeah, not so much sometimes.
Not this season. Did I forget anything? Is there anything that I forgot to mention?
I think you've covered it very well.
Well, thank you so much for being in and talking to us about it, and thanks for what you do to carry on.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here, and thank you. Like I said, I love being there. So.